The Legend of Jigong, Chapter 116.
The underlying tension of this entire chapter forces us to examine the very mechanics of proof. Like, how does a society determine truth when the people enforcing the law are, more worried about their own administrative survival than actual justice?
Right, which is exactly how this narrative establishes that tension, and it's brilliant. We start in media res, in this very tense, very formal courtroom. Prefect Zhao is presiding over a murder trial, and there's a man named Feng Guangqing on the stand, and he is facing absolute ruin.
Yeah, he's in serious trouble.
Exactly. But standing nearby is our protagonist, right? The eccentric then-master Jigong. And Jigong just casually looks at the prefect and declares that Feng is falsely accused.
Just like that.
Just like that. You have the full weight of the imperial legal system bearing down on a suspect, and this, meat-eating, wine-drinking monk just waves it away.
Which instantly boxes Prefect Zhao into a really perilous administrative corner. I mean, the magistrate's authority relies entirely on the illusion of absolute control, right?
Right, the illusion of infallibility.
Exactly. So he asks the obvious procedural question. If the man on the stand is innocent, well, who is the murderer?
Yeah.
He expects a name, a motive, an alibi. He expects to plug a new variable into his existing bureaucratic formula.
And Jigong's response just completely breaks the formula. He doesn't offer a suspect. He just tells the prefect, no problem. I'll just go outside right now and grab him.
Yeah.
He promises to literally walk out the front door into the street and catch the real killer on the spot.
Which is just staggering arrogance.
Staggering. It totally subverts the investigative process.
Right.
And Prefect Zhao, he's clearly desperate or maybe just paralyzed by the monker's reputation, right?
Yeah.
So he assigns 2 court officers, Lei Xion and Ma Anji, to escort Jigong.
Right.
And these two, they are like the ultimate embodiment of literal-minded state machinery.
Oh, completely. They are functionaries.
Yeah.
Their entire existence is predicated on following linear orders. So when they leave the court, Jigong gives them a very specific directive.
He says, I'm going to point to someone.
Right. He says, I'm going to point to someone, and you are to lock that person up, no questions asked.
And the response is just robotic.
Yeah. Their response is a mechanical that is natural. They lack the capacity to anticipate the chaos they were walking into because the system they serve doesn't account for omniscient intuition.
Right.
It only accounts for procedure.
Only procedure. So this procedural trio goes for a stroll. They're walking down the street, and Jigong spots a man walking toward them. And the man is wearing heavy white mourning clothes and carrying a vegetable basket.
Very standard.
Very standard. Jigong stops him, asks what he's doing, and the man says he's buying vegetables and mourning his recently deceased mother.
Okay.
Without missing a single beat, Jigong turns to the officers and orders them to lock the man up.
Just boom. The sheer abruptness of it is a deliberate literary device.
It's jarring. I mean, I have to look at this from a modern legal perspective, and it reads like a rogue TV detective arresting someone purely on vibe.
On vibes, yeah.
Right. The poor guy asks why he's being arrested, and Jigong asks him why he hasn't hired monks to chant sutras for his dead mother.
Right. The funeral rites.
Yeah, and the guy replies that he has no money. And Jigong's response is basically, too bad we're going to court.
Yeah, it's brutal.
It is. Arresting a grieving, impoverished man for not throwing a lavish funeral feels deeply abusive.
I mean, if a cop did that today, it would be a massive civil rights violation.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But that visceral reaction you're having, that is exactly what the text intends to provoke.
Oh, you think so?
Oh, for sure. The author is engineering massive friction between divine omniscience and human ignorance. The text actively wants you and the court officers to view Jigong's behavior as arbitrary and abusive and entirely lunatic.
Right. Because from the outside, he looks crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we have to understand the mechanism at play here. Jigong operates on a plane of divine knowledge.
He isn't actually arresting the man for a lack of funeral rites. He is using the funeral budget as an absurd pretext to forcibly drag this specific individual into the machinery of the justice system.
Ah, so it's an excuse.
Right, it's a loophole. He's exploiting the rigid, unquestioning nature of the officers to accomplish a cosmic goal.
Oh, man. Well, it certainly makes the officers look foolish. I mean, they are dragging a man in mourning back to the yamen simply because a monk didn't like his financial priorities.
Yeah.
And on the way back, Officer Mayenji tries to inject some actual police work into the situation.
Right, he tries to do his job.
Yeah, he asks the suspect his name. The man says he is Yuzon, a cook. And when asked how his mother died, Xuzong explains it was an old recurring phlegm and choking illness that finally took her.
Which, from a procedural standpoint, that is an airtight, perfectly mundane explanation.
Totally normal.
In that historical context, an elderly woman passing away from a severe respiratory or phlegm condition was incredibly common.
Right.
It raises absolutely no red flags for a law enforcement officer.
None at all. It's totally plausible to everyone in the narrative except Jigong.
Exactly.
So they get back at the courtroom, right? The monk strips Xuzong of his white mourning clothes, drags him before Prefect Zhao just drops a bomb in the courtroom.
Just a massive bomb.
He points at Xuzong and tells the prefect he murdered his mother.
Yeah.
I mean, the tonal shift from an absurd street arrest to an accusation of matricide, it gives me whiplash.
It's meant to, and that accusation, it shatters the procedural calm of the courtroom because patricide or matricide wasn't just a crime.
Right.
It was an existential threat to the social order.
How so?
Well, it violently disrupted the core Confucian value of filial piety. The entire legal and social hierarchy was modeled on the family unit.
Oh, I see.
So to kill a parent was to symbolically attack the emperor and the cosmos itself.
Wow.
Yeah, the punishment for such an act was unimaginably severe, often involving execution by 1,000 cuts.
Oh, geez. Okay, so knowing the stakes, Prefect Zhao gives Xuzong a chance to recant right, to confess to whatever lesser crime he might be hiding.
Right, he gives him an out.
But Xuzong holds firm. He insists his mother died of illness. And Jigong's solution is simply go examine the corpse and you'll know.
Which forces the prefect's hand.
Right. This forces Prefect Zhao to mobilize his entire apparatus. The prefect gets in his sedan chair, grabs the official coroner from the punishment section, marshals his runners, drags Xuzong along, and they all descend upon the suspect's house.
And this brings us to the most tense sequence in the narrative, because we suddenly see the crushing social and political pressures of the ancient legal system laid bare.
Oh yeah, it's not a quiet scene.
No, this isn't a quiet, taped-off crime scene where professionals work in a vacuum.
It's a neighborhood mob. The
Yeah.
entire community is there, and they are furious.
They are angry.
Very angry. They actively protest the investigation, shouting at the prefect that he is acting recklessly. They testify right there on the street that the mother died naturally, that they were present, that they even helped put her body into the coffin.
And we really have to unpack the immense cultural taboo of what the prefect is about to do here.
Yeah, let's get into that, because it's a huge deal.
It is. Unjustified exhumation of a corpse, opening a sealed coffin without empirical, absolute proof of foul play that was a massive violation.
Right.
It deeply disturbed the deceased's spirit. It violently offended the community. And administratively, it was fatal for a magistrate.
Fatal. Wow. So you're talking about the references in your sources to the prefect worrying about his gauze hat.
Precisely. The gauze hat is the physical symbol of his official post and his authority. The bureaucratic system of this era operated on strict, unforgiving accountability.
So if he's wrong, he's done.
Oh, absolutely. If a local official disrupted the social harmony based on the wild, unproven accusation of a wandering monk and found zero evidence of murder, he would be impeached by his superiors.
Wow.
He'd be stripped of his rank, publicly disgraced, and potentially exiled or imprisoned himself. The accountability only flowed downward.
Right, right. And Jigong has no institutional standing.
Exactly. Therefore, he has nothing to lose. The entire weight of this gamble rests on Prefect Zhao's neck.
Which explains why the prefect is sweat and bullets when he finally gives the order to pry open the coffin. I mean, the stakes could be higher.
No.
So the coroner steps up to the open casket, examines the mother's corpse, and finds absolutely nothing.
Not a single mark. No bruising, no poison, no signs of strangulation. The physical evidence completely aligns with Xuzong's story of a natural respiratory death.
Oh, man. So the scene just devolves into a bureaucratic nightmare. The coroner is paralyzed. He knows they just committed an unforgivable cultural sin for zero investigative gain.
Right.
Prefect Zhao is terrified, realizing his career is effectively over.
He's ruined.
Ruined. The neighborhood crowd is completely validated in their anger, and Xuzong is standing there vindicated, pointing out that he told them all along it was a natural death.
Yeah, the state apparatus looks tyrannical and incompetent simultaneously.
Exactly.
It is the ultimate failure of the institutional system. The literal-minded approach has hit a dead end because the physical symptoms of the corpse do not tell the whole story. The system requires visible cause and effect, and here the cause is invisible.
So here's where the narrative goes from a tense political drama to just pure cinematic shock value.
Yeah, this part is great.
It's amazing. In the middle of this total administrative panic with the prefect shaking and the coroner frozen, Jigong is just standing there with a calm, knowing smile.
Mm.
He doesn't bother looking at the mother's body. He doesn't try to argue with the coroner. He just walks up to the wooden coffin, winds up, and kicks the wall of it.
He deliberately targets the wooden plug at the end of the coffin, kicking it completely out of its frame.
Kicks it right out. And tumbling out from underneath the coffin, rolling across the floor in front of the entire horrified neighborhood, is a severed man's head.
Yes.
It's such an incredible rug pull. The tension of whether the prefect was going to lose his job is instantly vaporized and replaced by just macabre horror.
Yeah, that physical action, kicking the coffin, that is the moment divine intuition violently breaks through the facade of mundane reality.
Oh, yeah.
The severed head completely shatters the carefully constructed narrative of Yunlong. The text specifically notes how the color drains from Yunlong's face.
I bet.
His terror isn't just about being caught. You know, it's the realization that this monk hasn't just stumbled upon a crime scene.
Right. He hasn't just found clues.
Exactly. The monk has peered through the veil and unraveled a secret history that Yunlong thought was buried forever.
Man. So terrified by the head, Yunlong drops to his knees, and the truth just pours out.
It all comes out.
And the confession he gives is staggering. It's like a morbid Russian nesting doll of crimes.
That's a great way to put it.
You have a robbery layered over a murder, hiding a fratricide concealed beneath a supposedly natural death.
And the mechanics of how this crime cascaded are really crucial for understanding the fragility of life in this setting. Because the severed head Yunlong confesses belongs to his own brother, Xu Ziren.
Okay, let's trace this domino effect because it's a masterclass in how one bad decision detonates an entire household. The brother Erhun worked at a local money shop. And one night, he comes home completely intoxicated, clutching 70 taels of silver.
Which we really should contextualize that amount.
Please do, because I don't know what 70 taels means.
Right, well, for a cook and a shop boy, 70 taels is an astronomical sum.
Okay.
It represents total financial transformation, but also immense immediate danger.
Yeah, it's blood money.
Exactly.
So Yunlong demands to know where it came from. And Erhun, who is drunk and reckless, confesses that he knew his manager Han was traveling to a grain store outside the city to collect funds.
Mm-hmm.
So Erhun ambushed his own manager in the East Woods, stabbed him to death, and stole the silver.
And notice the psychological pivot Yunlong makes at this exact moment.
It's chilling.
It really is. He doesn't display moral outrage over the brutal murder of manager Han. His internal calculus immediately switches to ruthless self-preservation.
Right.
He understands the mechanics of the justice system better than his brother does.
He sees the big picture.
Yeah, if Erhun is apprehended for a capital offense, like robbing and murdering a manager, the state's retaliation won't stop with Erhun. The principle of collective responsibility means the authorities will implicate the entire household.
Wait, really?
Yes, Yunlong will be tortured as a suspected accomplice just by living there.
Oh, wow. It's a brutal survival equation then. So Yunlong looks at his brother and decides that Erhun is a liability that has to be liquidated.
Yeah.
To save himself from the executioner's blade, Yunlong gets his brother even drunker.
Yep.
Once Erhun is completely incapacitated, Yunlong murders him. He commits fratricide to build a firewall between himself and the law.
But solving one logistical problem creates another one.
Always.
Because he now has the corpse of his murdered brother in his house.
So he dismembers him.
He does.
He hides the headless body inside the kang, which is the large heated brook bed built into the structure of the house.
Right, right.
And he takes the severed head and shoves it underneath his mother's coffin. But the tragedy doesn't stop there. The final domino falls on the mother.
And this is the saddest part. She discovers the reality of her household.
Right.
She realizes one son is a murdering thief, and her other son is a fratricidal butcher, and this is all happening under her own roof.
Under her roof. The psychological weight of that discovery is just too much.
Yeah.
It triggers her existing phlegm condition, and she effectively dies of shock and terror.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the most incredible irony of this entire setup. Yunlong's original statement to the police was technically true.
That's the wild part.
His mother did die of a natural illness. The coroner wasn't incompetent. The physical evidence was entirely accurate.
And that right there is the philosophical core of this entire sequence. The bureaucratic state, relying purely on physical evidence, was completely paralyzed by a half-truth.
Half-truth, yeah.
The coroner could only see the biological cause of death. He couldn't see the causal chain of moral decay that triggered the biological failure. Only Ji Gong, operating with divine omniscience, could perceive the invisible thread connecting a stolen bag of silver in the East Woods to a respiratory failure in a residential bedroom.
It's breathtaking. I mean, it really is. But once the divine monk exposes the truth, the administrative state has to step back in and formalize the reality, right?
Yeah, sweep up the mess and close the books.
Exactly.
The system must reassert its dominance. So they bring in the young owner of the money shop to verify the initial crime, confirming Manager Han was indeed killed and robbed. The loop is closed. And Prefect Zhao sentences Zhu Zong to exile on the frontier.
Which I gotta say, sending a guy to a desolate border region seems almost like a light sentence for murdering your own brother.
It does seem light.
But I mean, given the brother was a murderer too, maybe the legal code allowed for some weird leniency there.
It's possible. Yeah, the context matters.
Right. More importantly, the system corrects its initial failure. Feng Yongqing, the man who was sitting terrified on the witness stand at the very beginning of our story, he is officially exonerated and freed. Ji Gong delivered exactly what he promised.
He sure did. But the bureaucratic cleanup extends beyond the criminal. It targets the institutional failure itself.
Yes, the middle manager.
Yes. Prefect Zhao drafts a report to his superiors impeaching the local magistrate of Qiantang County, a man named Duan Buqin.
Right.
This was the official who originally botched the investigation and tortured the innocent Feng Wangqing. Duan Buqin is stripped of his rank and fired for, quote, treating human life lightly and being muddled in his duties.
I love that. Seeing a corrupt or just incredibly lazy middle manager face actual consequences feels immensely satisfying.
Oh, absolutely. It serves a vital psychological function for the reader of the text, too.
How so?
Well, it offers profound cosmic reassurance.
Reassurance, okay.
Yeah, the narrative openly acknowledges that local magistrates can be incompetent or corrupt or muddled. The system on the ground is deeply flawed and dangerous.
Sure.
However, it reassures the audience that higher systemic authorities like the diligent Prefect Zhao and ultimate divine forces like Ji Gong exist as a failsafe.
Oh, see.
Injustice might terrify you in the short term, but absolute balance will inevitably be restored.
That makes a lot of sense. So while Prefect Zhao is sweating over this local domestic cover-up and disciplining a muddled magistrate, the real threat to state power is happening way above his pay grade.
Way above.
The text shifts gears immediately from a crime of desperate low-level survival to a crime of sheer towering ego.
It's a huge pivot.
Huge. Just as the court settles, the Yuzong affair officers arrive, escorting a master criminal named Yunlong, along with 3 men who harbored him and a pile of recovered loot.
And we are moving from the shadows into the glaring light of audacity here.
Audacity is the perfect word.
The recovered artifacts tell part of the story. There's a priceless white jade copper piece and a magnificent 13-strand pearl phoenix crown.
And the text inserts this brilliant detail, right, noting that the crown is missing a single pearl.
Oh, I love that detail.
It has a gritty realism to the recovery of stolen goods. I mean, the state rarely gets everything back perfectly intact.
No, they don't.
But Yunlong is not just a high society cat burglar. The rap sheet Prefect Zhao reads out is horrifying.
It is.
Hua murdered a young woman at Wuzhou Temple after she rejected him. He murdered a man named Qin Lu in broad daylight at Taishan Tower.
Brutal.
And then his crowning achievement of arrogance, he infiltrated the heavily fortified residence of Prime Minister Jin, stole the Phoenix Crown, and left a boastful poem written directly on the wall of the crime scene.
It's unbelievable. And if we contrast his methodology with Xu Zong killed in secret, right? He dismembered the body, hid the evidence to evade the state. Yunlong kills in public spaces and literally signs his name to his crime.
Literally signs his name. Leaving a poem on the wall completely baffles me. To me, this stops being a robbery and turns into an act of political terrorism against the prime minister.
Yeah.
Am I reading too much into that? Why not just take the crown and disappear?
No, you're hitting on the exact psychology of the act. It is absolutely a form of terrorism against state authority. Yeah. It is a declaration that the prime minister's power, his guards, his walls, they are irrelevant.
Right.
Yunlong is asserting that his individual martial prowess supersedes the laws of the empire. It is pure ego designed to humiliate the second most powerful man in the nation.
Which explains why Prefect Zhao doesn't even try to pass sentence on this guy. He kicks it straight to the top.
He wants no part of it.
No part at all.
Yeah.
The very next day, Ji Gong visits Prime Minister Qin himself. And this is where we see a completely different philosophy of justice at play.
Very different.
The prime minister is thrilled to have his crown back. But when it comes to prosecuting the man who humiliated him, he doesn't rely on divine vibes or coerced confessions.
No, he doesn't.
He takes a methodical, almost modern forensic approach.
Yes. Prime Minister Qin represents the apex of the administrative state, and his methods really reflect that.
Yeah.
When Hua Yunlong is brought in, he freely confesses to all of it.
Right away.
Now, in many historical legal contexts, a vocal confession from the accused was the gold standard.
Right. Case closed.
Exactly. It was the end of the inquiry. But Prime Minister Qin refuses to accept it at face value.
He demands empirical reproducible proof.
Yes.
He forces the master criminal to take a writing test.
It's so wild.
It is. He makes Hua Yunlong pick up a brush and write out the exact poem right there in the courtroom so the authorities can forensically match the handwriting to the poem left on the wall at the mansion.
Yep.
It feels so anachronistic, like an episode of CSI taking place in an ancient palace.
Totally.
But does a prime minister really need handwriting analysis when the guy already confessed and they found the loot?
He absolutely needs it because he understands the fragility of state power.
Okay.
If the prime minister executes a man based solely on a confession, which, could be later rumored to have been coerced or faked, he leaves room for doubt.
Oh, I see.
The state requires objective, undeniable evidence to legitimize its violence.
Right, no loose ends.
Exactly. Prime Minister Qin isn't a divine monk. He is a politician.
A politician, right.
He needs a perfect, airtight, bureaucratic record to justify what he's about to do.
And what he is about to do is initiate a bloodbath.
Oh, yeah.
Once the handwriting is verified as a perfect match, the prime minister brings the hammer down. He issues a sweeping mass death sentence.
Yeah.
Beheading for Hua Yunlong and beheading for all three of the men who harbored him. No exile, no leniency. The state is eradicating the threat entirely.
The punishment is absolute, which is why the investigative burden had to be so rigorous.
Makes sense.
But before the state can execute a judgment, the narrative pulls back the curtain on a third system of order operating simultaneously in this world.
Yes. While the state is busy doing handwriting analysis, we get a glimpse into the underworld.
We do.
Jigong has a chance encounter near a temple with a character named Guo Shun, who operates under the incredible moniker, the Night-Walking Ghost.
Great name.
Such a great name. Guo Shun bows to Jigong, and we discover he is currently paying back a life debt. Jigong saved him in the past, and to repay him, this underworld figure is secretly guarding the temple from the rooftops at night.
Yeah.
He casually mentions he's already fought off 2 assassins.
As one does. So Guo Shun is our introduction to the Jianghu, the martial underworld.
The Jianghu, yeah.
This is a crucial element of the sources you provided. We are being shown parallel justice systems.
Right.
The official court relies on magistrates, coroners, and empirical evidence to enforce imperial law. The Jianghu relies on debts of gratitude, life debts, and sworn brotherhoods.
It's completely different.
Entirely. For men operating outside the protection of the state, this shadow constitution dictates behavior just as strictly as the prime minister's edicts.
Wow. It's an ecosystem built entirely on interpersonal honor.
Exactly.
And that exact shadow constitution sets up the massive high-tension cliffhanger that closes this chapter. The state has scheduled Hua Yunlong and his gang for public beheading outside the Qiantang Gate.
Yeah, the big event.
They build a massive execution, shed a huge crowd, gathers the executioners already. The empire is putting its absolute power on public display.
But traveling on the road toward the city are 2 highwaymen, Zhao Liang, the golden-faced ghost, and He King, the law-enforcing ghost.
Right.
They're ranking members of a notorious underworld syndicate known as the 36 Friends of Yushan County.
So they hear the gossip from the travelers on the road that their sworn brother, Hua Yunlong, is about to be executed. Now, this is the crux of the tragedy.
It really is.
The text makes a very specific point of highlighting their massive blind spot. These 2 highwaymen have absolutely no idea what Hua Yunlong actually did to get sentenced to death.
None at all. They are completely ignorant of the murdered woman at Wuzhou Temple, the man slaughtered in broad daylight, or the arrogant robbery at the prime minister's estate.
The narrative even suggests that if they did know he was running around murdering innocent women, they probably wouldn't intervene.
Right, they probably let him hang.
But they don't know the facts. All they know is that they swore an 8-vow oath of brotherhood with Hua Yunlong.
Yeah.
They made a sacred binding vow under the laws of the Jianghu. And because of that archaic shadow constitution, they decide they cannot stand by and watch the state execute him.
It highlights the lethal danger of their parallel system. State law means nothing to them.
Right.
The forensic evidence gathered by the prime minister means nothing. The moral weight of the actual crimes means nothing.
Wow.
The oath is the only currency they recognize.
It is deeply infuriating to read. I mean, these two guys are about to throw their lives away. They're launching a suicidal assault against a heavily armed detachment of government executioners, all to rescue a monster simply because they made a handshake promise years ago.
Yeah.
They draw their steel swords and begin marching toward the execution ground to hijack the event.